Today, we are here to celebrate the life of one of the latter, Pava, who was my friend.
Loved ones gathered to honor the life of a local tech CEO brutally killed in her Mount Vernon apartment. An inside look at the meaningful dedication. And a Baltimore resident charged over $15,000 for her water bill. The conclusion to her months-long fight just ahead.
Speaking of water, lots of rain pushing in out of the south. We're going to talk about this wet weather scenario for your Sunday into Monday. It's coming up.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 Morning News.
Good morning to you. Looking live over Towson this morning. A lot less fog than we were working with on Saturday. Thanks for being with us. We are here this Sunday, December 10th. It is a game day. And while we're wearing blue, it's definitely a purple Sunday. Let's get to your forecast. Meteorologist Wyatt Everhard. But maybe a green Sunday based on your maps, really.
Yeah, that's the thing about it. I mean, right, we've got a good start dry weather-wise on this Sunday. Got to get some things done outside. First thing today would be the time to do it because this is some significant rain building in across western Maryland, just soaking rains already from Hagerstown out to Cumberland. And this is just the beginning, my friends. This thing is going to expand, blossom, and push into Maryland this afternoon, tonight, overnight, and into early Monday. And look at that heavy rain coming down towards Charlottesville. Aerial flood watch is up for D.C., Baltimore, and the 95 corridor for all this soaking rain on the way. So you see the cloud cover here, a little better indication of just how much moisture is running up the Appalachian Mountains and headed our way. Temperatures cool in the 40s. If there's a bright lining here, so to speak, weather-wise, it's that these numbers in the 50s already, we're bouncing upward to around 60 later on today. But again, it's going to be a wet scenario. We'll have much more detail on that coming up in just a few.
It was funny when Corey and the other Baltimore leaders said, jokingly, "Who is this little white girl from Tucson coming to Baltimore to tell us black men what to do?" Well, you know what? I know exactly how you felt.
Family, friends, and city leaders gathered to honor the life of Pava LaPere, the 26-year-old rising tech star who was murdered in her Mount Vernon apartment nearly 3 months ago. Saturday night, there were lots of laughs, memories, and tears shared. Take a look.
A celebration of life for Pava LaPere, the tech CEO killed at her Mount Vernon apartment building in September. A political who's who paying tribute to her life and legacy.
There is a lot that I'm thankful to Pava for.
From Governor Wes Moore.
It wasn't just her accomplishments that were so beautiful and so extraordinary. It really was her mindset.
To Mayor Brandon Scott.
Today, we are here to celebrate the life of one of the latter, Pava, who was my friend.
Now, her name will live on forever with a dedication from Johns Hopkins, LaPere's alma mater.
And in honor of her, we are renaming Fast Forward U the Pava Marie LaPere Center for Entrepreneurship here at Johns Hopkins University.
The dedication cementing LaPere's legacy, according to her mother.
I want Pava's exit from this universe to be a motivator for everyone. Let's look around and see what might be improved.
LaPere's brother showing his appreciation.
She's given the recognition she deserves, and their accolades will be set in stone. Thank you, Baltimore, and thank you, Johns Hopkins.
While still trying to come to grips with the loss of his sister.
Bravo to you, sister. I'm proud of you. We are proud of you. And though you're not gone, sleep tight.
A loss that possibly could have been prevented if a repeat violent offender was not able to walk the streets of Baltimore. Something the governor calls a miscarriage of justice.
The same system that she wanted to fix, it failed her.
Now, 32-year-old Jason Billingsley is the man accused of murdering LaPere. He was arrested just days after police say he killed her. Billingsley has an extensive rap sheet. Back in 2015, he was sentenced to 30 years in prison after pleading guilty to a first-degree sex offense. However, he struck a plea deal, cutting his sentence in half. Ultimately, he was released in October on good behavior. The day LaPere's body was found, police say he stole a gun from a friend in Owings Mills. Then, just 2 days before LaPere's murder, police say Billingsley attacked a couple inside a home on Edmondson Avenue, raping the woman and slitting both of their throats before setting fire to this home. Baltimore police faced intense criticism for not alerting the public about that crime and the dangerous person that was on the loose.
Hindsight's always 20/20. I don't think we made a mistake in this case.
To say that there was no mistake made, I think that's a bridge too far. I think, again, we go back to the fact that this person, obviously from his past history, has shown that he can be a threat.
Well, Billingsley's arrest also reignited calls for stronger laws to keep repeat offenders behind bars, as many questioned why he was out of prison in the first place, given his rap sheet. That includes Mayor Scott.
Rapists shouldn't be let out early, period. When you rape someone, no matter if it's someone's daughter, son, their wife, you should not get out early, period, for that kind of offense.
However, Billingsley is not the only repeat offender released from prison early due to a lenient plea deal. In June of last year, police say 20-year-old Austin Davidson shot and killed a Wycomico County Sheriff's deputy. Davidson pleaded guilty to armed robbery in Baltimore in 2017, but was set free in 2020. That same month, Baltimore police say Joseph Black struck an officer with his car during an arrest. He has a long list of convictions, including attempted murder, dating back 20 years. But he was on parole at the time. And then there's the convicted arsonist Luther Trent, who told Fox 45 he was stunned by his own plea deal, only 6 months behind bars for setting his ex-girlfriend's house on fire with her 2 friends inside. Trent says his own plea deal sent the wrong message to criminals, and the deal was eventually reversed. Federal agents went on to sentence him to 12 years behind bars. We're following the legal troubles that continue to swirl around Hunter Biden as he faces a second indictment. The latest on this investigation and how it could impact his father's bid for re-election.
And tracking that rain as it continues to make its move up the 95 corridor towards Baltimore. We'll talk about how much rain and how long it lasts. It's coming up.
Fox 45 News, winner of 16 2022 Regional Emmy Awards, more than all other Baltimore news stations combined.
A South Baltimore resident is recovering from a case of sticker shock after her monthly water bill ballooned to $15,000 this summer. Her fight to correct it has taken months. Our Jeff Abel has the latest on where this dispute stands.
The city is admitting tonight that it was human error that sent a water bill ballooning to more than $15,000. But there are still plenty of questions tonight why it took a village of people to get that bill corrected.
I really appreciate it.
For Mika Park, her tug of war with the city's Department of Public Works is almost over.
I feel it's much better. I don't have a headache.
This summer, the South Baltimore store owner was sickened when her monthly water bill topped more than $15,000. Normally, it hovers at just under $200.
I trust them. I thought they're gonna trust it's a water bill. But now I don't trust them.
Parks hired a private plumber whose inspection report showed no leaks and no problems. But when the city demanded payment, Mika Park turned up the volume.
Jeff Abel is demanding answers.
Her story first aired on FOX45 in October.
$197.14.
And her complaint to the city's inspector general launched an investigation.
This was a human error, and it just shouldn't happen.
Our cameras were there this week when Inspector General Isabel Cumming came to Park's front door to explain what went wrong. According to Cumming, a city employee inputted 10 years of erroneous information into Park's account.
They put a new meter in July, and that's what started the whole process of because the person that inputted it not with 2023, but they inputted it with like 2013. It was a complete error.
I'm just now very happy.
Very happy.
Just get the feeling that something needs to change in DPW. We need to come up with a better system for the residents of Baltimore City. It's not fair to business owners like myself and property owners like myself, and to keep having to fight and go to DPW and say, hey, this isn't right.
John Sachs, who helped battle the bill, says it took hours to convince Public Works officials of the mistake. At first, he says, DPW agreed to reduce the $15,000 bill to $8,000, then to $5,000, then $3,000. But now, Mika Park's water bill amounts to $79.01.
Thank you for 45. Also you, too.
For the first time in a long time, Park is celebrating a victory.
I'm thanking for you, too.
After a flood of frustration.
I'm thanking for you. Thank you.
That's what we're here for. Try to make Baltimore better.
DPW is now retraining its staff to ensure this situation does not happen again. Jeff Abel, Fox 45 News.
A Baltimore County substitute teacher put on the do not use list without her knowledge. It's cost her thousands of dollars in potential income, and now she says the school system isn't being truthful. We'll tell you why just ahead. You're watching Fox 45 Morning News, all local, all morning. All right, let's go ahead and jump into your forecast. Meteorologist Wyatt Everhart. Look, it's a game day. I'm just hoping we don't get washed out, really.
Well, look at it like this. I mean, football, yeah, it's a little different animal than baseball, right? We play pretty much no matter what. So there's that. And not that cold, at least.
That wasn't confident to me, Wyatt, that we won't have a washout.
Yeah. And I will say this, the morning tailgaters still dry for the moment. It's just like, it's just not going to hold. We've got rain on the way out of the south and west here. You see the heavy rains already out in western Maryland, Hagerstown to Cumberland, out to Deep Creek Lake and south toward Front Royal, Virginia. Some heavy rain down here from South Virginia and Roanoke all the way down the corridor here into, that's the 81 corridor, down into western North Carolina, just soaking rains. That's why we have an aerial flood watch up for D.C., Baltimore, and really most of the central part of the state. You know, urban areas where we have so much pavement, that's where the rain just runs off. I don't have to tell you, you know, living around Baltimore, and that's what we're going to see. Red at morning, right? Sailor's warning, the old saying. Kind of what we have out there, cloudy. Not so bad. I mean, kind of a beautiful shot here, actually. But we just know that ultimately the clouds thicken up through the course of the day, and ultimately the rain does push in. 48 right now at BWI. I think we're warming up a little bit today, at least. And overall, I think it's going to be, you know, a quiet pattern, temperature-wise, at least, as we go from around 50 right now to around 60 later on today. What you notice, though, is those clouds increasing, chances for rain increasing by no later than 11 a.m. and certainly by 1 o'clock, yes, game time. It looks like some pretty wet football out there at M&T Bank Stadium. Beyond that, into the evening, we're going to keep the showers around. So we're going to call this rain heavy at times. And boy, it is heavy in areas down there toward Roanoke. You can see those higher radar returns in the orange shading there. That's where radar is detecting, you know, just a very heavy downpour on the radar returns. And that's what tracks our way. Future scan shows that. This is 1 o'clock. Right as we're kicking off some of the heaviest rain coming in here. That rain will continue at least on and off basis through the evening, maybe a lull toward the end of the game. But then we get another surge of moisture moving north as we go Sunday evening into the overnight hours, scattered showers, some snowy weather for western Maryland on the back edge of this thing. And we don't really clear it out until I think towards about 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. On the very back edge of this, expect some flurry action because there's colder air that comes in behind this boundary. So we do dry things out, but it's going to take a while for that to happen. Again, overall, you see that wet weather pattern. Mild air holds for today, but then we do cool it down midweek. And here's that extended forecast. You see that we go from 60 into just the 40s Monday and Tuesday, but it is a dry weather pattern into the week ahead. We'll want that after so much rain coming into the area today and tonight. Back to you.
All right, well, Fox 45 News is tracking your tax dollars. We're pressing lawmakers on if the state will ask taxpayers for more money as Maryland faces an impending budget deficit. Stick with us here at Fox 45 Morning News Weekend Edition. All local, all morning. A Howard County student is back in the classroom nearly a week after she says a man attacked her on her way to school. Project Baltimore first reported this incident last week, and Chris Papps has been investigating, and he found that it could just be a symptom of a bigger problem impacting students who are forced to walk to school, all because the school system cut school bus service.
Jada Jones is struggling.
I want my life to go back to what it was before, with school.
This 15-year-old is in 10th grade at Wild Lake High School in Howard County. 6 days ago, she and her friend were on their way to school. It was about 7:30, a cold November morning. And instead of walking, the girls decided to take public transit. They were waiting at this bus stop off Columbia Road when a man attacked them.
So he was grabbing on her purse, and I started punching him and trying to get him off of her. And then he started pulling my hair and punching me like in my chest. And we both were defending ourselves, like hitting on him, trying to get him off of us because he was fighting back. And I guess we let him loose, like we got off of him and we started running.
Terrified, the girls ran all the way to school. Jada called her grandmother, Michelle Williams.
I'm raising them, and I'm all they got. And she's all I got, as my daughter, And just for her and her friend, it took everything in me to try to keep my mind focused and just tell Jada it's going to be okay.
Jada and her grandmother live 2 miles from Wild Lake High School. They don't own a car. Jada used to ride the school bus. But this year, that's not an option.
It is not fair. I want our buses back.
About 3,500 students lost their school buses. After Howard County increased the distance students must live from school in order to qualify for a school bus. Those 3,500 students are now considered walkers, including Jada.
Some of us don't have the transportation to pick their kids and take them to school. Then you made it difficult because now our children is getting hurt in the midst of this.
Jada's grandmother is worried, and she's not alone.
First and foremost concern is safety. Safety, period, end of story.
Project Baltimore has spoken with a number of parents outraged by the district's decision to cut school bus service. Over the summer, they held protests, hoping to convince the school district to reverse course because of safety concerns.
Save our school buses!
Those concerns have become reality. What happened to Jada is just the latest incident. Less than 3 weeks ago, before Jada and her friend were attacked, 2 other Howard County High School students were robbed in separate incidents while walking home from school. Project Baltimore looked into those incidents. In both cases, police say the victims were walking home from Centennial High School when they were robbed at gunpoint by 2 assailants. The robberies occurred just a few minutes apart near Gwen Park Drive and Riverside Circle in Ellicott City. Project Baltimore looked up that neighborhood on the Howard County bus transportation map. The green boundary line represents walkers. Last year in 2022, students who lived in this section received bus service. But look at the current map. The entire neighborhood is now considered walkers.
Project Baltimore did speak with one of the students from Centennial High School. He told us he was walking home that day because just like Jada, he lost his school bus. So that means 4 Howard County students in less than a month have reported being victims of crimes, and 3 of them have confirmed to FOX45 they had their school bus taken away.
Howard County Schools maintains that cuts to bus service increase efficiency because school start times change this year. The district declined an interview with FOX45, saying in a statement, "We are deeply concerned for the welfare and well-being of each of our students." The school system went on to thank Howard County Police for keeping neighborhoods safe and said that it's appreciative of the RTA, Regional Transportation Agency, which offers free bus passes to Howard County students.
I need you to tell me that you have transportation for my baby tomorrow so she can go to school and feel safe, so she can have a proper education.
Project Baltimore wants to hear from you. Are you a parent or a student in Howard County who recently lost their bus and is concerned about safety? Call our hotline, send me an email, go to foxbaltimore.com to follow our progress on this story. I'm Chris Pabst, and this is Project Baltimore.
Rain or shine, the bad birds are back in town, taking on the Rams. So if you're watching in person, grab the raincoat. After the break, meteorologist Wyatt Everhart is tracking that rain that's expected to roll in later this afternoon. Stick with us here, Fox 45 Morning News.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 Morning News.
Coming up on 7:30 right now, looking live over M&T Bank Stadium. We are expecting some showers, but it looks dry right now for those tailgaters. Thanks for waking up with us this Sunday morning. It's December 10th. I'm Taylor Stewart, and it's time to talk about your forecast because we have some stuff to talk about. Meteorologist Wyatt Everhart, we got to talk about when that's rolling on in.
Yeah. I mean, you got like the cornhole setup and the beverage, but you got the raincoat like right over here.
And the umbrella, right?
Exactly. It's going to be coming in big time for everyone at the game this afternoon. It's not here yet, but it's knocking on the door. Big rain to the south and west of us, edging in already into the western part of the state. We've got rain coming down now basically west of Westminster, out toward Winchester, Virginia, Cumberland, Hagerstown, all getting the rain, and there's some significant rain pushing in out of the south. So this is going to be the precipitation we're dealing with later on today. That's why we have an aerial flood watch already in effect here across the Baltimore, D.C. region. You know, a lot of runoff from this heavy precipitation late today. So moisture comes in, but we do get up to around 60 for high temperatures today. There's the positive note for you. We'll talk about how things change tonight and into the day tomorrow coming up.
In a city in crisis this week, 4 teenagers were arrested after police say they used a rideshare app to carjack a driver in West Baltimore. This is just the latest example of juveniles using an app or a website as a ploy to commit crime. Now, I spoke with an expert about a warning she has about using these apps safely. Take a listen. Marketplace apps make it easy to buy and sell items or services online, connecting sellers to prospective buyers, but you don't always know who's on the other end.
You are meeting a stranger. Someone lists something online, you don't know them, you go on the platform, and you agree to meet.
That's what happened when Pennsylvania teen Carlos Carazana Ricardo crossed state lines interested in buying a car posted on Facebook Marketplace in West Baltimore. Investigators say he was shot and killed by the vehicle's owner after expressing second thoughts on the purchase.
That truly messed up my head because I've been trying to buy stuff off of Facebook Marketplace for a while.
Police arrested and charged Marquise Harris with murder just days before investigators brought 4 West Baltimore teens into custody, accused of using a rideshare app to lure in a driver in an attempted carjacking.
The country has a bit of a parenting issue. There's no coincidence that it's juveniles.
And as these apps fuel a dangerous trend when it comes to juvenile crime, law enforcement expert Melissa Pinkleton says thoroughly vet your buyer or seller before expressing interest in a deal.
Because it's being done through the app. There's such little human contact over the apps, it is very easy to pretend to be somebody else.
And when meeting them in person for the first time,
I always use we. We will be there to pick you up. Whether I'm going alone or not, you always want to put in we.
It lets the person on the other end know you're not coming alone. And follow it up with a request to meet in public.
Ask me specifically where you're going to be, what are you driving in, and if you get there and something doesn't feel right, then you need to trust that and don't explain it away.
Meantime, cases of teens abusing open market apps to commit crimes comes as people grow increasingly comfortable buying items online, even if the seller is a stranger.
Use it, but add abundance of caution.
Whether Facebook Marketplace, OfferUp, or Craigslist, to name a few, Pinkleton says don't go in blindly.
There are really good deals there, and there are a lot of honest people who are on those apps as well. But an abundance of caution, especially this time of year. This is one of the most violent times of the year. Crime is the highest.
Pinkleton says when all else fails, consider a place that's highly visible, like the parking lot at a police station. Taylor Stewart, Fox 45 News. Well, tips about car thefts or carjackings continue to come into our newsroom every day. Now, the numbers we're seeing from police tell that story. According to Baltimore police, so far this year, nearly 11,000 cars have been stolen. That is up 222% from this time last year. 520 of those thefts are classified as carjackings. Now, Fox 45 News has heard from a number of victims saying something's got to change. One of them says she barely got away from an attempted carjacker.
And the passenger exited the car quickly, sprinted up to my driver's side and pointed a gun at my head and said to exit the vehicle. I put the car in reverse and reversed basically as fast as I possibly could.
Keep in mind, though, this is not a Baltimore City issue solely. We've heard from several victims with similar stories of carjackings in Baltimore County and in Montgomery County. A woman from just outside of Baltimore tells us she was pistol whipped and had her vehicle stolen.
And I saw a pistol in his hand. And I said, and he said, "Give me your keys, give me your keys." And I'm like, and the next thing I know, he hit me in the head. And I went down. These kids don't have consequences. And that's what makes me very angry. And I am furious. And I'm going after these. I want to prosecute. I want to see some type of retribution.
Fox 45 News is pressing lawmakers on the blueprint for Maryland's future, or the Kerwin plan. It pumps $30 billion additional tax dollars into schools for the first decade and then $4 billion each more every year thereafter. Now, local jurisdictions say they just do not have the money the state requires them to contribute to make this plan work.
We can't afford all of this.
We've got this hefty bill to pay. We don't have the money to pay it. The Blueprint for Maryland's Future is a worthy program, but it is ambitious. And it is one that requires substantially higher funding levels from those jurisdictions that are already struggling.
But there's no transparency. They've got to have a plan that actually results in change. And they've got to be able to tell us this: if we put our money here, this is what you're going to get. And if we don't deliver it, the money will recycle.
Yesterday, Governor Moore answered some questions about curbing the price tag of Kerwin. We did not get a direct answer, but he does say he supports this plan.
For our administration, we believe deeply in the blueprint.
Now, the debate over the Kerwin plan comes as the state faces an impending budget deficit. A report from the Department of Legislative Services shows the state will see a $1.8 billion deficit by the end of this decade. By the end of 2025, it shows the state with a $418 million deficit. By 2026, we're looking at $572 million. By 2027, a $328 million deficit. But then look at this, in 2028, it jumps to more than $1 billion. The governor was asked if the state will turn to taxpayers for that money.
We have to be able to grow our economy. And that means make the proper investments in the things that we know are going to create jobs, that are going to create economic activity.
Again, not entirely clear from the governor here, but Republicans say the goal is to avoid tax hikes. But with cuts being made to department budgets, including an 8% cut to the Department of Transportation, they say this legislative session will prove challenging.
There is no real appetite to increase taxes. So that then becomes the way, do we cut, the ways that we operate?
Right.
If we're not going to generate new revenue, or do we better manage the revenue that we have coming in?
Governor Moore says the cuts were made to help fill the budget gap he says his administration didn't create. Governor Larry Hogan did leave the state with a budget surplus, though, and Fox 45 News spoke with Christopher Summers of the Maryland Public Policy Institute about where all that money went. He says this could have been avoided.
It could have been prevented, yes. And as I said, it's a never-ending budget deficit story, is even the projections from fiscal year 25 to fiscal year 29, the state is projecting revenues to grow at 3.5%, but expenditures growing at 5%. When the math works that way, it normally does not end well. Particularly, it does not end well for Maryland taxpayers.
Well, Fox 45 News will continue to follow your tax dollars and hold your elected leaders accountable for the budget. You can find our past reporting on our website right now, foxbaltimore.com. The Ravens playing the Los Angeles Rams at the bank today. Hear from star QB Lamar Jackson before they take the field just ahead.
And we're tracking some heavy rain on the way to Maryland for the game as well. We'll talk about how much rain and when it finally clears out of here. That's coming.
More legal woes for President Biden's son, Hunter, as he faces new federal charges related to the income from his foreign business dealings. The National Desk's Amira David has more from Washington on what this means for the president as his re-election campaign ramps up.
The Justice Department Thursday charging Hunter Biden with 9 tax-related crimes, his second federal indictment in just 3 months. In the detailed 56-page indictment filed in California, the younger Biden accused of being engaged in a 4-year scheme to not pay at least $1.4 million in taxes from 2016 through 2019, alleging he instead spent millions on an extravagant lifestyle, including over $680,000 on payments to various women and escorts, $188,000 on adult entertainment, and $71,000 on drug and alcohol rehab. While salacious, there's a reason those details are part of the government's case.
Those kinds of facts are the kinds of things that any prosecutor would want to include in an indictment to argue before the jury. This isn't some kind of ordinary run-of-the-mill tax case.
Hunter Biden's attorney, Abby Lowell, arguing this indictment and the previous federal gun charges against his client are political, saying based on the facts and the law, if Hunter's last name was anything other than Biden, the charges would not have been brought. It adds another layer to House Republicans' probe into Hunter Biden's business dealings, days before he's been summoned to answer questions on Capitol Hill, an appearance that's still not set in stone.
He doesn't get to dictate the terms or set the rules. We do that, so we expect to see him next week for a deposition.
And the charges will certainly add fuel to House Republicans' expected vote next week to open an impeachment inquiry into whether President Biden was involved with his son's businesses, an allegation the president has pushed back on.
It's just a bunch of lies.
You didn't interact with many of their business associates?
I did not. There's lies.
With the Justice Department prosecuting both President Biden's son and Donald Trump, legal troubles will be front and center for both of the likely presidential nominees on the campaign trail. In Washington, I'm Amira David.
Well, as we get deeper into cold and flu season, what can you do to protect yourself? That's the question, and avoid getting sick. We'll tell you more. That's after the break. Well, just in time for the holiday get-togethers, many viral illnesses are on the rise. Medical reporter Liz Bonis shares a few immune-boosting steps to lower the odds of getting sick.
All right, we all know this is the season to eat, drink, and be merry, and to get sick. And if you want to avoid the top illnesses going around right now, you need to give yourself the gift of strong immunity. First up, make sure vaccines are up to date in both kids and adults. They boost immunity in about 2 weeks and help protect against severe lung complications from respiratory illnesses such as flu, COVID-19, RSV, and pneumonia going around right now.
Vaccinating for flu and for COVID, as well as for bacterial infections that cause pneumonia, like pneumococcus, is really important for children.
Then go with your gut. Researchers in the journal Gut Microbes found that one particular bacteria that shows up in the gut when you eat a Mediterranean diet appears to help certain vaccines, such as those against COVID-19, protect longer. And right now, we need that.
Yeah, our COVID numbers are staying relatively high compared to the last several months.
And speaking of diet, you may need to add back in some natural bacteria from foods such as yogurt to boost immunity. If you recently had to take antibiotics, they zap bad bacteria when you're sick, but good bacteria in the body also.
That's something easily that you could do for yourself and be like, yes, this is amazing.
Finally, health coach Lindsay Bonadonna says find an activity that helps you relax, such as yoga. She's helped cancer survivor Krista Powers, who has compromised immunity, build it back up, body, mind, and spirit.
It's kind of that footprints in the sand. You know, sometimes there's one set of footprints and it's not mine. I'm being carried.
Takes time to build immunity from a few of these lifestyle steps, but they do add up. So if you can just start with a couple, it can help you stay strong in the holiday season. With your health news, I'm Liz Bonus reporting.
It certainly is that kind of time. I feel like once the weather gets kind of cold, kind of rainy, that's when the sickness hits. Meteorologist Light Everhart, have you gotten any cold flu-like symptoms yet this season? Everyone's going to get it this year unless you get that shot.
When you got a little guy, you know, they bring him home. So my little man, he gave me that gift of a cold about 2 weeks ago.
Gotta love these kids.
Yeah.
Gotta love them.
Anyway, let's keep that in the rearview mirror for a while, right? We want long stretches between colds. That's the idea. What we won't have is a long stretch before the rain comes in today. Wet weather already pounding points from Hagerstown west, and this rain slowly but steadily trekking eastward. And there is a tremendous amount of moisture lined up with this boundary. So quite a bit of rain this afternoon, this evening, overnight. That's why we have that aerial flood watch, Central Maryland, up into the northeast corner of the state. Right now, looks kind of nice out there. I mean, a little sun trying to peek through the clouds. 48 right now, BWI. Wind is calm. Visibility 6 miles. The overall pattern temperature-wise here is around 50 degrees, 47 in Rosedale. And further west, we also have 52 in Woodlawn. The numbers will warm up today steadily to about 60, but also as we warm things up to the midday, that's when the rain really begins to arrive, and then we'll get rain cooling into the afternoon. So a wet weather scenario certainly after lunchtime today and certainly into the evening hours. Now, the heaviness, the steadiness of the rain will vary some, kind of, picking up at times, diminishing at times. Keeping the rain around here right through the afternoon, another surge into the overnight hours, and more rain until probably first thing Monday morning. So that's the overall pattern. Frontal boundary will clear that situation, clear us out, and bring in drier air, though, as we go to the midweek. Also going to bring in some of that colder air, but not the heart of it. I mean, it is cold to the west right now, my friends. 19 in Omaha. We'll look for low 40s to upper 40s through the day on Monday, and then moderating to around 50 by Wednesday. The overall pattern here is dry through the midweek, but again, we'll like to see the dry weather after so much rain coming in late today and into the overnight hours. Back to you.
Well, happening today, the Ravens and Rams go head-to-head right here in Baltimore. If you're going to the game, great. If you're not, cool. You can watch all the action right here on Fox 45. Our pregame coverage kicks off at 11 a.m. and kickoff 1 p.m. This is Baltimore's first game in 2 weeks since last week was a bye week. Well, after missing Thursday's practice with an illness, Lamar Jackson is good to go ahead of today's game with the Rams. This time last year, mind you, Jackson was sidelined with that knee injury that caused him to miss the final 6 games. A year and a few days later, Jackson is healthy, and that is something that will be key as the Ravens enter the final stretch of the season to pursue and actually stay top of the AFC.
We are seeking something in Advent, and we're definitely seeking something from a football perspective in December. So that's what we're after right now. But we want to be at our best, and obviously having Lamar and all the guys where they're at right now, ready to go, is something that we're excited about. But we've got some things to accomplish, and it starts with just playing our best football from day to day and from game to game.
After this weekend, the Ravens will go head-to-head in Jacksonville, taking on the Jaguars. That game is December 17th. And then on Christmas, stick around because they're going to travel to San Fran to play the 49ers. Kickoff there slated for 8:15. Wrapping up your season, Ravens play the Dolphins here at home on New Year's Eve, rather. That begins at 1 p.m.
Jen Reedholm sat down with Project Baltimore because she's out of options.
I don't know why I can't get a straight answer.
For 6 years, she's been fighting to clear her name.
There's an incident attached to me that doesn't belong to me.
A fight against her own employer, Baltimore County Public Schools.
That makes no sense. But Baltimore County Schools doesn't seem to make a lot of sense most of the time.
Reedholm began substitute teaching for BCPS in 2017. Specifically, she wanted to work at Warren Elementary in Cockeysville, her community school, where her own children went.
It was in my neighborhood. I knew the community, I knew the children, I knew the teachers.
Warren Elementary, like many schools, struggles to find substitute teachers, and Reedholm wanted to help. But after getting her teaching certificate, she noticed she wasn't getting any job opportunities at Warren. Not understanding why, she started asking questions and learned her name was on the Do Not Use list.
What did you think when you found out that you were on the Do Not Use list?
I didn't know what to think. I just wanted to know why. Why would I be on such a list? I mean, what could I have done ever?
For the next 5 years, Reedholm tried multiple times to have her name removed, but all of her attempts failed because the initial principal who put her on the list in 2017 left the school. And each principal since has relied on that 2017 account of what happened. Finally, in October 2022, Reedholm learned why she was put on the list in the first place when she received this letter from BCPS Central Office. The letter described an unsafe incident that occurred. According to the letter, she left a class she was responsible for unattended while working at Warren Elementary. But Reedholm says that never happened. It's impossible. For one reason.
I never substituted at the school, and I have proof.
The district has not told Reedholm the exact date of the alleged incident, making it more difficult for her to disprove. But this is Reedholm's online employment history. And you can see, according to BCPS's own records, she never worked at Warren Elementary.
What do you want?
I want my record cleared, and I want to be removed off the Do Not Use list.
Project Baltimore reached out to Baltimore County Schools asking why Reedholm was on the Do Not Use list when she never taught at Warren Elementary. We received this reply. Baltimore County Public Schools cannot discuss personnel matters. We encourage Ms. Reedholm to follow up with the Division of Human Resources for further assistance. Reedholm has contacted BCPS again. She hopes to quickly resolve this issue, which she says has cost her family a lot of money in lost work.
Maybe $20,000 or $30,000.
That you missed out on?
Yeah, missed job opportunities.
That's a lot of money.
It is.
But perhaps more importantly, Reedholm's name is attached to something she says she didn't do, and she wants it fixed.
I don't know what the future holds, but if there's something on my personnel file that doesn't belong to me and it could come up in a job interview, that's a problem. How am I supposed to explain that?
Reedholm, as we mentioned, was on the Do Not Use list at Warren Elementary for 6 years. But during that time, she was still allowed to teach at other schools. If somebody did something so bad they were banned at one school, why would they still be allowed to teach at other schools? That part of the story, Monday. I'm Chris Pabst, and this is Project Baltimore.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 Morning News.
Good morning to you. Looking live over the bank this morning as we head into a game day. Well, we are tracking rain across our region right now as you look live over M&T Bank Stadium, and we'll keep you updated throughout this morning. But let's go ahead and jump in with your forecast. As we said, it's 8 a.m., it's Sunday, and it's some rain on the maps. Meteorologist White Everhart, why?
Yeah, rain train headed our way, like coming down the tracks, right? We're gonna take it head on this afternoon and evening. Significant steady rain on tap. So anything you got to get done outside, do it first thing today. Get it out of the way before the rain starts to come down. We're tracking right now. HD radar shows showers as close in really as western Carroll County. Most of the rain still has been in the Cumberland to Hagerstown zone of the state so far this morning, but lots of rain down the 81 corridor. Through West Winchester, rather, down into Lexington. And so more and more of this rain is going to be pushing north out of that Charlottesville region into the D.C. and then Baltimore area. Quite a bit of precipitation. And as a result, we do have aerial flood advisories up at least through 1 a.m. this tomorrow morning. Now, overall, you see that moisture, all that cloud cover tracking in ahead of a cool front. That will be pushed out of here by late tonight, really late overnight into early day tomorrow. But in the meantime, rain on the increase this afternoon as temperatures hover just below 60. We'll talk more about how the setup trends into the week ahead. It's coming up.
Well, you can access the latest information on severe weather when it hits our region just by downloading that Fox 45 weather app right on your phone. Just search WBFF in your app store. It is free. Continuing coverage this morning, we are learning more about one of the two parents facing charges for allegedly jumping in a fight between students at Carver Vocational High School. This ended with 3 teenagers shot. Fox 45 News confirmed the father was actually on federal probation at the time of this incident. Court records show William Dredden was sentenced to 4 years in federal prison for entering into a plea back in 2019. According to court documents, Dredden was a member of an open-air drug market that operated in West Baltimore. He was released in June of 2022 and placed on 3-year supervised probation. Dredden is now facing more than a dozen charges related to this incident at Carver Vocational.
Holding our parents accountable as well. And so for us, we are laser focused on holding these parents accountable, to tell the other parents, to make the message clear. If you wish to participate in these types of illegal activities with your children, if you're not going to be a parent to your children, then we will hold you accountable as well.
Well, state records show Dredden has a long history of drug-related charges, including possession and distribution dating back to nearly 2000s. Now, he's being held without bond. As Bates cracks down on young offenders and their parents, some voters are saying they want more of that tough-on-crime messaging. Fox 45's Keith Daniels completes our team coverage with the voice of the people.
Well, we're just about 5 months away from the party primaries in May in the mayor's race, then the general election in November. And tonight, we're hearing what could be part of the message in those campaigns. In downtown Baltimore, images, the sounds, and the feeling of the holiday season.
The holiday season is happy, it's cheerful, it's merry, everybody just so joyful and so nice.
But as city residents prepare to celebrate the Yuletide, another season is fast approaching, the elections with the upcoming mayor's race. Tonight, tough talk on crime, including the latest word from Baltimore City State's Attorney, Ivan Bates.
If you're a parent or a guardian and you're participating or complicit in violence, then you just need to bring the family pack of the toothbrushes.
Bates continuing his familiar theme regarding his crackdown on criminals with stiffer sentences.
Bring your toothbrush with you. Bring your toothbrush with you. Bring your toothbrush with you, because we're going to send you to jail.
But as the city gets closer to the balloting season, do voters want to hear the tough talk on crime? Is the messaging resonating with residents?
Yes. Why? Because you got to pay for the crime you commit. You need to. Maybe you won't do it no more. The tougher you get.
I think I've heard that message before and nothing ever happens.
I'd like to hear more about schools and changing the education system.
But longtime resident Marconi Combs,
Of course, that's always what you want to see.
says for him, it's all about the tough talk on crime message. But,
you know, it's not the message, it's the cause of crime. And people aren't really addressing that. You know, they're looking at the result and say, oh, well, we're gonna mess it. We're gonna try to fix the result. Let's fix the cause.
well, of course, we expect to hear more from the voters and, of course, the candidates as we get closer to the elections. Reporting tonight, Keith Daniels, Fox 45 News.
Well, our coverage continues this morning with Giovanni Patterson, the chairman for Peace, People for Elected Civic and Accountability. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
So we're talking about messaging and with respect to the mayoral race. And Bates, like you've seen, has been very vocal on crime, and his tough on crime approach seems to be working for voters. The mayor has more so touted the successes over his administration, namely the decline in homicides. How effective do you think that messaging is?
Well, I think the people kind of sense what's going on. And, you know, when you talk to people, when we've had our town halls, you know, the reality of what they feel about crime and what the mayor is saying currently, you know, really don't match.
And I mean, would it be helpful for him to switch his tone on that? I mean, because Bates has been very vocal about that approach, and for some people, it seems to resonate. Do you think there needs to be a tone switch in order for him to be strong as in this race?
Well, let's think about what the mayor does first, right? The mayor is the CEO of the city. He's responsible for keeping the peace. He's responsible for economic development. You know, and right now we need a mayor, right, that's focused on, you know, getting Baltimore to a better place. And if you look at any of the measurements of a healthy city right now, when it comes to crime and when it comes to education, I don't think the messaging behind what, you know, Mayor Scott is presenting right now is valid, right? Because the people are seeing that our education system is failing and seeing that there's been more crime, especially with things like, you know, carjackings and things like that. So people don't feel safe.
I think what you're saying kind of dovetails to my next question. I mean, a lot of criminology studies point to the symptoms of crime being, namely, a lot of the issues we see in Baltimore City, like schools, poverty, things of that nature. That's not something we generally hear as much, doesn't get as much airtime, I would say, from either candidate, Sheila Dixon or Mayor Brandon Scott, as the front runners in this race. Do you want to hear more about that, or do you think it's working by them kind of staying away from those topics?
Well, look, again, this is where I say we need true leadership in Baltimore, because we need a visionary, like someone is going to get us to that next level, you know, imagine this, right? The Baltimore Ravens, I'm a huge football fan, and their goal is to win the Super Bowl. We need to figure out what Baltimore's Super Bowl, because that's a unifying message, right? And there are things like crime and education that need to be addressed. But, you know, we do need to address the causes of crime, which are things like our education system. Instead of praising, you know, Santelises, who has been, you know, over this failing school system for the last 7 years, let's investigate, let's figure out, let's do some audits and those type of things. But, you know, we need leadership that's going to say, that's going to turn over the pages, and investigate and figure out what's going on to help us get to that Super Bowl, which I believe Baltimoreans deserve.
We've taken several polls, and Goucher also released a poll about people's interest in the candidates. Some say they would prefer a third candidate. Have you had any of those conversations in the community groups that you guys have had that indicate people are open to another option?
Well, yeah, people are, you know, people want to see change, right? You know, some people like to go with, you know, someone that's familiar, but a lot of people, there is an appetite for, you know, someone that's an outsider, someone that's, you know, hasn't been in that office, right? But, you know, one thing that I know is that when it comes to politics, a lot of times the good people don't want to run. So, you know, we do have to go with the people that do sign up and put their name on the ballots. But, you know, I think there are some, you know, viable options out there, you know, from even a third-party perspective.
Giovanni Patterson, Chairman of Peace, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Taylor.
Today, we are here to celebrate the life of one of the latter, Papa, who was my friend.
A Baltimore community and loved ones honor the life of a local tech CEO, the enduring impact she leaves behind.
And I'm White Everhart. We're tracking significant rain on its way into Maryland and the Baltimore area through the afternoon today. We'll talk about when this thing gets out of here and what comes next. It's straight ahead here on Fox 45 Morning News.
It was funny when Corey and the other Baltimore leaders said, jokingly, "Who is this little white girl from Tucson coming to Baltimore to tell us black men what to do?" Well, you know what? I know exactly how you felt.
Family, friends, loved ones, city leaders gathered to honor the life of Pavel Lapierre, the 26-year-old rising tech star. She was murdered in her Mount Vernon apartment nearly 3 months ago. Vincent Hill has more on the laughs, tears, and reasons they celebrate.
A celebration of life for Pavel Lapierre, the tech CEO killed at her Mount Vernon apartment building in September. A political who's who paying tribute to her life and legacy.
There is a lot that I'm thankful to Pavel for.
From Governor Wes Moore.
It wasn't just her accomplishments that were so beautiful and so extraordinary. It really was her mindset.
To Mayor Brandon Scott.
Today we are here to celebrate the life of one of the latter, Pavel, who was my friend.
Now her name will live on forever with a dedication from Johns Hopkins, Lapierre's alma mater.
And in honor of her, we are renaming Fast Forward U the Pavel Marie Lapierre Center for Entrepreneurship here at Johns Hopkins University.
The dedication cementing Lapierre's legacy, according to her mother.
I want Pavel's exit from this universe to be a motivator for everyone. Let's look around and see what might be improved.
Lapierre's brother showing his appreciation.
She's given the recognition she deserves, and their accolades will be set in stone. Thank you, Baltimore, and thank you, Johns Hopkins.
While still trying to come to grips with the loss of his sister.
Bravo to you, sister. I'm proud of you. We are proud of you. And though you're not gone, sleep tight.
A loss that possibly could have been prevented if a repeat violent offender was not able to walk the streets of Baltimore, something the governor calls a miscarriage of justice.
The same system that she wanted to fix, it failed her.
Well, 32-year-old Jason Billingsley, the man accused of murdering Lapierre, was arrested just days after police say he killed her. Billingsley has an extensive rap sheet. Back in 2015, he was sentenced to 30 years in prison after pleading guilty to a first-degree sex offense. However, he struck a plea deal, cutting his sentence in half. Ultimately, he was released last October on good behavior. The day LePaire's body was found, police say he had stolen a gun from a friend in Owings Mills. Then, just 2 days before LePaire's murder, police say Billingsley attacked a couple in a home on Edmondson Avenue, raping that woman, slitting the pair's throats before setting their home on fire. Baltimore police face some intense criticism for not alerting the public about that crime and the dangerous person on the loose.
Hindsight's always 20/20. I don't think we made a mistake in this case.
To say that there was no mistake made, I think that's a bridge too far. I think, again, we go back to the fact that this person, obviously from his past history, has shown that he can be a threat.
Well, Billingsley's arrest also reignited calls for stronger laws to keep repeat violent offenders behind bars. As many questioned why he was out of prison in the first place, given his rap sheet. Among those voices, Mayor Brendan Scott.
Rapists shouldn't be let out early, period. When you rape someone, no matter if it's someone's daughter, son, their wife, you should not get out early, period, for that kind of offense.
But Billingsley is not the only repeat offender released from prison early due to a lenient plea deal. In June of last year, police say 20-year-old Austin Davidson shot and killed a Wicomico County Sheriff's deputy. Now, Davidson pleaded guilty to armed robbery in Baltimore in 2017, but he was free by 2020. That same month, Baltimore police say Joseph Black struck an officer with his vehicle during an arrest. He also has a long list of convictions, including attempted murder dating back nearly 20 years. He was on parole at the time. And then there's convicted arsonist Luther Trent, who told Fox 45 News he was stunned by his own plea deal. Only 6 months behind bars after setting his ex-girlfriend's house on fire with her and 2 other people inside. Trent says his own plea deal sent the wrong message to criminals, and the deal was eventually reversed. Federal agents went on to sentence him to 12 years in prison. Fox 45 News is tracking your tax dollars, and we're pressing lawmakers on if the state will ask taxpayers for more money as Maryland faces an impending budget deficit. You're watching Fox 45 Morning News Weekend Edition, all local, all morning. Fox 45 continues our ongoing coverage of the war in the Middle East. Happening right now, the Israeli military has urged residents to begin evacuating Gaza's second largest city, Khan Yunis. Now, officials tell CNN that the military wants residents to move to a strip closer to the coast, but with far fewer facilities. Meanwhile, Hamas's military wing says its fighters were, quote, engaged in a fierce battle with the IDF. Those forces ramping up near the refugee camp in northern Gaza. The IDF released a video that shows soldiers firing from alleyways around that refugee camp. Now, here in Baltimore, the war has torn city council members on 2 resolutions condemning hate. That first resolution, proposed by Councilman Yitzi Scheifler on Monday, called to condemn the Hamas terrorist attack and anti-Semitism. It received 9 yes votes, falling short of the 12 required. 4 council members abstained from the vote on Thursday. They put forward their own resolution condemning anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. That measure also failed. On Friday, Fox 45 heard from Jewish community members who have spoken out about the dysfunction, saying city council needs to take action.
We here in Baltimore ought to be able to support each other and defend each other. I would hope that a city council would be able to come together and condemn violence against any minority. So the failure to do that, I think, is very dangerous.
Now, the 4 council members who abstained from voting on the initial resolution say they did not support the measure because it did not condemn all forms of hate.
I was really dismayed, and I couldn't believe it. I wasn't clear about it. I was like, okay, here's a resolution, dealing with the senseless violence of Hamas. Pass the resolution, show our support, and let's move on to other issues that are affecting us.
That was mayoral candidate Sheila Dixon also joining in on those calls this past Friday. All right, let's go ahead and get over to meteorologist Wyatt Everhart, because we are in for some rain today as this game gets underway. But it's not here yet, is it?
Still got a little time right around Baltimore. If you need to get something done and not be in the rain, you can see it's edging into Frederick, Purcellville. Certainly rain already coming down in Hagerstown, but not quite in Baltimore yet. But boy, there is a lot of rain to our south that's going to be moving in through the course of the afternoon around here. So wet weather scenario on tap all afternoon and all evening, right into the overnight hours. Aerial flood watch is up for this precipitation along the 95 corridor. Basically paved, urban type areas where we get so much runoff. That's the main concern. M&T Bank Stadium getting ready to go back into action on the home field today. Hey, look at it like this. The Rams, in no way, shape, or form, are used to playing in like chilled rain, right? So, home field advantage might be more so with that weather. 49 right now, BWI will float our way slowly up into the upper 50s to near 60 by around 1, 2 o'clock. But with that, the rain moving in, and so that will create a rain cooling effect as well. I don't think it's ever really going to feel as warm as 60 today. And there's the rain totals rolling in. I mean, we're talking about potentially 2 inches plus of rain by, say, 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. And remember, it all kicks off about midday today. So quite a bit of precipitation over those hours. And you can see just how much rain is down there toward Roanoke and southwestern Virginia. That'll be pushing our direction as we go toward kickoff today, basically. And then we'll keep the rain on and off. Heaviness will vary. Lightens up this evening a little bit, then increases again overnight tonight. So you see that scattering of showers continuing. A little snow on the back edge here. Deep Creek Lake, certainly Wisp. Those areas are going to get some snow out of the back of the system. And then into our Monday, we clear the skies, bring in some chillier conditions. But overall, it's a drier pattern behind this system and behind this boundary. Drier air sets up really for the bulk of the week. So it's, again, a clearing and colder scenario for your Monday and a drier trend on the way this week. And temperatures today close to 60. Then tomorrow, you'll notice, we're stuck mostly in the 30s to 40s by day. So it is going to be a cooler scenario on the way for you tomorrow. Let's check out the extended forecast here. You see that temperatures do drop, certainly in the Monday. Nothing more than a few showers, maybe even a few flurries Monday morning. And then after that, it's a drier, sunnier scenario through the midweek. Not really bad weather here by December standards, certainly into next week. And we might get a little milder again back into the 50s. Back to you.
Well, prom night meets the roller rink. How one Maryland group is skating around for a good cause. You're watching Fox 45 Morning News, all local, all morning. All right, go ahead and lace up those skates. A local roller derby team is hosting a roller prom to help recruit and raise money for a brand new rink. Photojournalist Casey Fair takes us to the dance.
Why not the 80s? It's October, so it's the Halloween month, so we go roller prom and kind of glam 80s. Usually if they hear derby, then they think, oh, there's going to be hitting. There's no hitting tonight. It's just like an open skate. Everyone's just rolling around, having fun. If someone falls, it might be because of their own 2 feet, not because someone hit them. Yeah. So our league is made up of women and women identifying skaters. We're working on raising funds for our 2024 season and to hopefully help us find a new permanent home. We've been practicing pretty much all over Howard County, but if we could find somewhere permanent where we don't have to move around, that would be great. We have skaters coming in from Shrewsbury, Pennsylvania, all the way to Edgewater, Maryland. We have a lot of folks who are inexperienced, and we have a lot of very experienced skaters who've been around, so it's a lot to learn, but they're great teachers. We have great coaches. It's really great to watch, like when they come in and they're like dandy on skates, or they don't know how to skate at all and they're afraid to put it on. We work with them, and then like 6 months later, we're watching them kill it. Yeah, can we say that? Yeah, absolutely. Oh, come check it out. Everybody is so welcoming. It seems intimidating, but it's not at all. And the worst that can happen is you have a good time and you end up spending money every month coming back.
All right, well, here's a look at today's steals and deals.
The following segment is sponsored by Knocking.
I am so excited to tell you about this product. I love it after wearing high heels all day or a heavy workout at the gym. Foottopia. This combines pushing, kneading, shiatsu, pressing, rubbing techniques that feel so good. It also has heat therapy that helps to loosen your muscles, and it also feels cozy as we get into these colder months of the year. And it can also be used on your calves as well, which is great because I get I'm gonna get cramps in my calves. I also love it's light and it's portable. You just simply plug it in and you're good to go anywhere, vacation, the office. It's also great for everybody. It's a great gift, whether you're an athlete or you're having a physically demanding day at work, or you just want to, like me, relax after a stressful day and just sit in front of the TV. I like that it's really good for anybody. It's good for young people. It's good for older people. And also, I have cold feet. So this warms my feet and massages my feet at the same time, which is actually something I've never found in a product like this. And right now, we're offering 33% off. Get that. That's a big deal on Footopia. All you have to do is head to asadeals.com for this amazing, look at this, relaxing, exclusive offer.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 Morning News.
Good morning to you on this Sunday, December 10th. Looking live over a foggy-looking Towson, but the rain's not here yet. I'm Taylor Stewart. Thanks for joining us this morning. We want to talk about your forecast. Let's get over to meteorologist Wyatt Everhart, who's going to explain why that green's rolling through and when it's going to happen.
Yeah, we're tracking it on radar, Taylor. And look, it's a relatively dry start this morning in Baltimore, but it doesn't hold up. Rain tracking our direction as we go into the afternoon hours in particular, and certainly into the evening as well. So get ready. Get what you got to get done outside the first couple hours today, because after that, we've got rain pushing in. Already heavy rain from Hagerstown all the way back down into Virginia toward Charlottesville and back into Lynchburg. That's all headed our direction as we go into the afternoon. Probably getting through about lunchtime without too much rain. Then it's going to ramp up for the game actually this afternoon. 1 to 4 o'clock looks like a very heavy window of rain. So heavy slickers and umbrellas advised out at M&T Bank Stadium. Otherwise, again, for most of us, it's just a mild day temperature wise, but a wet one into the afternoon. You couldn't even hear the rumble of thunder around here. We'll talk more about the setup into the week ahead. Some changes there. They're coming up.
All right, thanks, Wyatt. Fox 45 News is pressing lawmakers on the blueprint for Maryland's future, or the Kerwin Plan, as it's called. It pumps $30 billion of tax revenue into schools for the first decade, and then $4 billion more each year thereafter. Now local jurisdictions say they do not have the money the state is requiring them to contribute to the plan.
We can't afford all of this.
We've got this hefty bill to pay. We don't have the money to pay it. The Blueprint for Maryland's Future is a worthy program, but it is ambitious. And it is one that requires substantially higher funding levels from those jurisdictions that are already struggling.
But there's no transparency. They've got us to have a plan that actually results in change.
and they've got to be able to tell us this: if we put our money here, this is what you're going to get, and if we don't deliver it, the money will recycle.
Well, Governor Moore answered questions about curbing the price tag of Kerwin. He didn't give a direct answer, but says he supports this plan.
For our administration, we believe deeply in the blueprint.
The debate over this Kerwin plan comes as the state faces a budget deficit. The report from the Department of Legislative Services says the state will see a $1.8 billion deficit by the end of the decade. Now, at the end of 2025, it shows a $418 million gap. In 2026, that grows to $572 million in a deficit. In 2027, you're looking at $328 million. But look at this. By 2028, it jumps to more than $1 billion. The governor was asked if the state will then turn to taxpayers for that money.
We have to be able to grow our economy. And that means make the proper investments in the things that we know are going to create jobs, that are going to create economic activity.
Again, not entirely clear from the governor there, but Republicans say the goal is to avoid tax hikes. But with cuts being made to the Department of Transportation right now, an 8% cut has been allocated. They say this legislative session will prove challenging.
There is no real appetite to increase taxes. So that then becomes the way, do we cut, the ways that we operate?
Right.
If we're not going to generate new revenue, or do we better manage the revenue that we have coming in?
Governor Moore says cuts were made to help fill the budget gap he says his administration did not create. Now, Governor Larry Hogan left the state with a budget surplus, and FOX45 News has since spoke with Christopher Summers of the Maryland Public Policy Institute. We asked where all that money went. He says it could have been avoided.
It could have been prevented, yes. And as I said, it's a never-ending budget deficit story, is even the projections from fiscal year 25 to fiscal year 29, the state is projecting revenues to grow at 3.5%, but expenditures growing at 5%. When the math works that way, it normally does not end well. Particularly, it does not end well for Maryland taxpayers.
Well, also developing this morning in budgetary news, in Baltimore City, Mayor Brandon Scott says he's open to selling the city-owned Hilton Hotel at the Inner Harbor. Now, controversy has followed this hotel for years amid financial struggles. And we're digging into this tax-funded venture with Dr. Darius Irani, the chief economist of regional economic studies at Towson University. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Taylor. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We've got to talk about this because just this past Wednesday, the Board of Estimates decided they would approve $1 million grant from American Rescue Plan money to keep this hotel afloat. What are your thoughts on this latest movement?
Well, I mean, it's a series of string of payments to the hotel that sort of really has struggled financially. It never really met its rosy projections when it was announced sometime in 2006. There was some opposition to it at that time, but it really required at that point, when it was originally conceived and then built, to really meet fairly optimistic projections in terms of convention visitors. Really, it hasn't really met its potential. In fact, I think pre-pandemic it showed some slight profitability. Pandemic really, killed it as well as all hotel traffic here in the region. But then since post-pandemic, it has sort of struggled to regain traction. And obviously, with the level of debt service, which I don't think is scheduled to be paid off until 2046, a significant amount of monies left that the city is on the hook to pay for.
And Dr. Irani, as you pointed out, even before the pandemic, the hotel lost about $11 million in 2010, and then another year of $11.4 million of a loss. So even before the pandemic, this hotel has been bleeding money. As we look ahead to next year, where the budget already earmarks another $7 million for this hotel, you got to wonder, should the city be in the business of running hotels?
Well, this is a question that, many people have asked, are cities good hotel managers? And I would argue probably not. Now they're contracting it out to a private company to do it. But the challenge really is that, it's a soft market already. And really the liability then falls back to the city in terms of making up the shortfall. If this were a private corporation, the corporation would decide whether to close the hotel or not, or keep it open. But the city, is, trying to maintain the hotel, obviously provide some subsidies to it. And the hotel does a payment in lieu of taxes, a pilot to pay down some of its debt service. So, it is a question, because the question is, are those resources that are going to the hotel, should they be going to other parts of the city's budget, such as the Blueprint for Maryland or other things?
I'm curious to know what your thoughts are on a potential sale. As you already mentioned, Baltimore's not scheduled to finish paying off this hotel until 2046. And even if they do find a buyer, who knows if that buyer will be able to satisfy the full debt that has been incurred. Talk about some of the challenges you could foresee ahead as we look at this tax-funded venture.
Well, so the challenge really is that the valuation of the hotel may be maybe below what it was originally conceived to be, given the fact that it has low, it doesn't have sort of, stellar occupancy rates. Even though it is attached to the convention center, the convention center is struggling to get the number of conventions needed to fill the hotel space. So that would kind of play into the sale price, and obviously any private company would look at that and go, well, do the numbers don't line up? So what would I do? And that maybe they would pass on it, given what the city requires in terms of a sale price, as well as all the obligations, and then the soft market. Because unless there's conventions coming into the city, it doesn't bode well for the for the hotel. And obviously, if the Orioles continue to win, that would be a continued draw, but that may be insufficient.
I want to bring this home just so we bring it home to the taxpayer. As someone who votes in this city, as someone who trusts city leaders to make sure they're managing the money responsibly, I guess where do you stand as a taxpayer?
Well, I mean, I would say this is probably one of those things we probably shouldn't have gone into it and probably walked away. I know it was very enticing, but I know other cities have tried and failed at this. So it's not without precedent. And I know that many people advised, I think then Mayor Martin O'Malley, to not go into it. But again, people saw the, I want to say, bright, shiny object and decided this would be a good opportunity. They felt that there was upward potential in the convention center that really never materialized. At some point, you need to sort of cut your losses and move on. Otherwise, it would be like a money pit.
And we'll leave it right there. Dr. Irani, Chief Economist with Towson University, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
A regular befriends his local waitress only to later attack her. I'm Alexa Ashwell. On Maryland's Most Wanted, the taxicab assault that led to her kidnapping and the search for this fugitive.
All right, thanks, Alexa. And radar showing a lot of heavy rain on the way. We look for a wet Ravens game around here. Hopefully that'll make the Rams play worse out there, right? We'll talk more about the week ahead coming up.
A server accepts a friendly invite out from one of her regulars only to become the victim of a brutal rape and assault. Here's Lexa Ashwell with Maryland's Most Wanted.
It was supposed to be a fun night out, but investigators say things took a violent turn when this man, identified as Carlos Flores Matute, attacked a waitress he was sharing a taxi with, then later raped her. That was nearly a year and a half ago, and now the U.S. Marshals Service needs your help tracking him down. July 10th, 2022, Prince George's County. A local waitress is invited out for drinks by one of her regulars.
He was a regular at her establishment.
The waitress agrees, and according to investigators, meets the man identified as 20-year-old Carlos Flores Matute at Leslie's Grill in Riverdale. The night is going well, and by closing time, investigators say Flores Matute had offered to help the woman get home.
At the end of the night, he convinced her to share a taxi. The claim was that he would be a gentleman and he would pay for the taxi to drop him off at his residence and then continue on to drop her off at her residence.
The two get into a taxi and begin the nearly 4-mile, 15-minute ride to their first stop, Flores Matute's home here in Hyattsville. Little did the woman know it would be her only stop.
So when they pulled up to his residence, things changed.
Investigators say Flores Matute grabs the woman by her hair and drags her out of the taxi into the back of his house. Once in the basement, strangling and threatening to kill her if she doesn't comply.
He viciously assaulted her. In this case, he struck the victim, he choked her, and he brutally raped her.
Hours pass. The woman manages to escape, running for help and finally calling police. She's rushed to an area hospital and there tells investigators what happened. Flores Matute is identified by the woman and later issued a criminal summons, but the 20-year-old has since vanished.
When he failed to appear, the local officials referred the case to the United States Marshals Service for apprehension.
Nearly a year and a half has now passed, and the search for Flores Matute has proved difficult.
This individual is an undocumented citizen, and as a result, it is very easy for him to fly under the radar. He's not going to be working jobs on the books. He is not here legally, and so there's a very good chance if he is not hiding out in the state of Maryland, he may have fled back to his home country.
His home country of Honduras in Central America. Investigators stress Flores Matute must be located and fear it's only a matter of time before he strikes again.
The concern is repeated behavior. This person developed a rapport to convince this woman to trust him, took her out for drinks, and felt it was within his ability to just brutally assault and rape this individual. And if he can do it to someone he knows and has developed a relationship with, there's nothing stopping him from doing it to a stranger.
Take a good look. Flores Matute stands at about 5'8" and weighs approximately 170 pounds. If you have any information regarding his whereabouts, you're asked to contact the U.S. Marshals Service. We have the tip line number right here, 1-877-WANTED-2. Or you can contact agents directly. This number, 202-819-5058. Remember, you can always remain anonymous, and you could earn a reward. I'm Alexa Ashwell, and this is Maryland's Most Wanted.
We're looking at rainy skies through the most of the day as the cold front moves across the eastern region. When we'll expect it to dry out, that's just ahead. You're watching Fox 45 Morning News, all local, all morning. All righty, let's go ahead and jump in with meteorologist Wyatt Everhart on this purple Sunday, but it's going to be a purple rain Sunday in the words of Prince, I guess.
I like that. Purple rain. What a classic, right?
Yeah, right?
Look, it is definitely already, we're seeing the moisture come in. Not the rain so much yet. That will be coming, though, I assure you of that. Right now at BWI, we got 51. Wind calm, visibility 7 miles. And the radar lighting up like a Christmas tree to the west here. As we take a look at the overall scenario, you can see quite a bit of rain now from Frederick and Damascus west into Hagerstown. And the real moisture tap is actually to the south, down here toward Greensboro, all the way up into Lynchburg. That's where a tremendous amount of the rain coming later today will be coming in from. So it's an aerial flood watch for Baltimore, D.C., the 95 corridor. Urban areas in particular, we're getting a lot of runoff as some of these downpours come in this afternoon and evening. Temperatures across the state hovering fairly mild. In fact, the Eastern Shore, you're already floating at 60 degrees in Denton. Most spots are in the low 50s right now, and we're going to kind of hover in the 50s to near 60 through midday. After that, it's rain cooling, as we will get downpours at times. I think a look at how much rain. We're talking like in spots 2 inches of precipitation between now and first thing Monday morning, so that will be some significant rain around here. Big picture-wise, there's our system, again, edging in out of the south and west and set to arrive into Baltimore itself toward lunchtime today. So you still have a little time left. You're going to get some things done outside without getting hit by the rain. And boy, it ramps up this afternoon for the game, and we continue to keep it going this evening because we get another wave of precipitation coming in out of Virginia into the evening hours, and then scattered showers overnight with some snow showers out into western Maryland. A few flurries could fly around here as the system clears out first thing Monday. After that, it's a drier, sunnier scenario, a chance to dry out, but also with that drier air coming in, colder conditions as well will be the story through the midweek. So you can kind of see it's a clearing, colder scenario into Monday, and then a dry scenario midweek. Temperatures, I want to show you these, then we'll jump into the 7-day. Hovering 60 today, but then the night. Cold air arrives behind that rain, and you can see it's going to be a tough battle to get out of the mid-40s even for tomorrow. Here's the extended forecast, again looking ahead and finding drier and relatively mild weather toward midweek, 50 or so on Wednesday. Pretty seasonable for this part of mid-December, but again, the big story in the short run, a lot of rain late today and tonight.
Well, all right, happening today, the Ravens and Rams go head-to-head here in Baltimore. And if you're going to the game, you can watch all the action right here on Fox 45. Pre-game coverage begins at 11 a.m., following kickoff at 1 p.m. Mind you, this is Baltimore's first game in 2 weeks since last week was a bye week. And we are expecting some rain in the forecast. Make sure you stick with us here as we track it and time it all out for you and talk about your work week. That's just ahead. Coming up on Fox 45 Morning News, all local, all morning.